Welcome to Domino One, where it all began. I'm your host, Smith Paul, and thank you for taking the time to watch the show, and I really appreciate that. And without further ado, we're going to jump right into it. So, you guys have been seeing everything in news about Epstein, and it's been percolating for a while now. But now with all the, 3 million new documents or files that have been, you know, put out there and on the internet, and everybody has an opinion and everybody has something to say. And I don't have a problem with anybody having something to say. Obviously, I'm here telling you about my opinion. But as always, I always want to make sure that I'm offering something that's a little bit different than the mainstream or your regular podcaster. And I'm not throwing shade on any particular person, but obviously, if you go online right now, everybody has an opinion as to who Epstein was, what he did, who's involved, and how horrible everything is. And they all have a point, and I tend to agree. But I also like to take things a little bit deeper. So today, we're going to dive a little bit deeper. And as I go, if you have any questions, if you have anything that you feel like I should be talking about, perhaps a different angle that I didn't see, please feel free to comment below and let me know. And I'll read all the comments, especially the nice one. If you're trying to be a jerk, well, I guess that's that. I won't have any time for it, but please do comment below and let me know what you think. Today, the angle that I want to take is this one. So before I get started, let me play this video about this guy who was a pedophile, went to jail for it, and he's explaining who his targets are. And by the way, I did a video on that same guy. If you go on my YouTube channel, go back, I don't know, last year, I did a video about the same guy talking about pretty much a similar topic that I'm going to talk about today, but I'm going to connect that to Epstein. So please take a look at this video.
Were there certain characteristics that you looked for in children before molesting them?
In children, yes, but more, I also looked at their families. If I thought the father was a threat, I would not approach the child. If I thought that the child had friends that he would tell, I would not approach him. If I thought the child had friends that were in the same capacity he was, I would approach him. For the simple fact that if I could molest him, I could lure him into believing, grooming him into believing that he would enjoy it. And therefore, I could manipulate him into having his other friends come and be molested by me as well.
So perhaps.
So in this video, he talks specifically about the families that he targets. And as you just heard him say, he targets the ones that don't have a father figure involved. Now in the news and the media, you hear a lot of things about what is masculinity, what is like, how's a family supposed to be structured, and so, like a single mom can do just as good of a job, a single dad can do, usually a single mom, but like people tend to feel like they know how to really get this whole family thing on the right track. But sometimes what they don't realize is how dangerous that is. It is extremely dangerous when you hear somebody like that talking about the kind of families that he targets. A family that does not have a father figure is extremely vulnerable. Now, how does this guy, well, obviously, besides just having the same feel as Jeffrey Epstein, the type of stuff that he was doing with whether it's young girls, young boys, and people that are involved in this whole thing, besides just having the same kind of, evil doing kind of action activities, let's talk a little bit deeper about how does how can we mitigate the amount of abuse that's happening right now in this world and our society. I wrote my book on what I went through, my accounts of when I was experiencing those abuse and how to get over them. It's a self-help book. I encourage you to go on Amazon or in Barnes & Noble, wherever you get your books. Get one of those. I promise you won't regret it. Now, I played that video at the beginning, again, to show you those people, aside from their evil, twisted mindset, we can't stop them from thinking that way. sadly. We cannot, I don't think there's anything that we can do with somebody thinking about doing those kind of crazy, evil things. I don't know. If you know how to tell them to stop or how to detect that, comment below. But what I do know is, as a father myself, I am hyper vigilant about who's around my kids. When they go somewhere, who's going to be around. I do my best to figure out and assess the situation. And why do I do all that stuff? Obviously, it's because of guys like that, the video that you just watched. But it's because I know as a father, our job is so, so, so important. And it's so important. Let me read you a few stats. And again, just when I read those stats, just keep in mind, those are the floor, not the ceiling, meaning they were the ones that got recorded. They were the one that got reported, but certainly not all of them. It's far and far, far from all of them. Now, when you read stats about 1 out of every 4 girls, 1 out of every 14 boys before the age of 18 will be sexual abuse. Whether it's, we know, the perpetrators are usually people that they know, people within the family, people within the community, people within their churches, people within their friends group. We know that. But 1 out of every 4 girls will be sexually abused before they turn 18. And again, it gets more jarring when you think about those numbers here are just the floor. So 1 out of every 4 girls will come forward and say, hey, this is what happened to me, which is extremely tough for anybody to do. I know that. I'm a living proof of it. Now, what about all the other ones that never came through? That's where being a father, being a dad, having a dad in the home is so important. And I talk about family values. I talk about how important it is to, when you're a dad, and again, that's not to take away anything from the mother. That's not what I'm doing here. I'm not trying to demonize or lessen the role of the mother. I'm somebody who believes that to have a complete family, you need to have a mother and a father, because we all have a job that we have to do, and together we complete the job. But when you don't have a father in the home, just like this creep just said, that's his entrance. That's his green light to get in there and kind of manipulate the situation until he can get a foot in the door. And once that happens, he starts his, his actions. He starts to act. He sees those families as prey, and he's the predator. He knows how he's going to get in. And I mean, the stats do tell us all about that. And I think it's horrible. So now, again, tying that to the Epstein thing, those girls who were molested, those boys, talk about this pizza stuff. I mean, like the amount of stuff that people were talking about that are in those files, I read a few of them. And honestly, it's hard to beat. I had a drink last night. I went out with my wife and had a drink for Valentine's Day. And then we sat with this couple we had just met. And the guy was one of those guys who just he says he knows a little bit about everything and he knows this and that, but he was very deep into like conspiracy theory and stuff like that. And I don't have anything against conspiracy theorists. I just think sometimes you gotta, pump the brakes a little bit before you kind of lose yourself into the whole, conspiracy theory world. But he kept saying this stuff is so much deeper, so much deeper, so much deeper. And if you knew exactly what was happening, you would probably kill yourself and stuff like that. So, and to a certain point, I agree with him. Not the part about killing myself, but I agree it is a lot deeper than we realize in the news. Whether we watch the left wing or the right wing, that's one subject that is just pretty much everybody, whether you're on the left or the right, we agree that the files should get out. And we agree this kind of stuff should not be happening. But as we're doing that, a lot of people are getting clicks over just posting about Epstein. Epstein was this, just regurgitating the same stuff that they're hearing from this news station or this news station. But really, they're just making money out of it. But we got to see it a little bit past that, if not a whole lot past that. Epstein was basically the gatekeeper to a lot of that stuff. So a lot of it was going through him. He was the conduit who was facilitating a lot of those things, but he wasn't the only one. And he might not have been the guy. Are we going to find out who the rest of the people are? I don't know. Comment below if you have any thoughts on that. Then Prince Andrew, different people like that, I guess, the evidence is too strong. It's too much to keep it hidden. So we see the ones that are actually being held accountable right now, but there are so many more. We know how this whole thing works. I don't want to be a pessimistic and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but at the end of the day, the people who were truly involved, they may never get held accountable for what they've done because the corruption is just too strong. So I'm trying to be realistic and think about, whether or not those people are going to face justice. As much as I would love that, all the victims would absolutely love that. And so we'll put a face to all those names perhaps that we have and the ones that we don't have so that those people can face justice. Chances are we may never get all of them. Meaning that's not within our power. What is within our power right now? As a parent, as a dad, as a mother, we can be more vigilant. We can be more hands-on. So 1 out of every 4 girls kind of becomes 1 out of every 100 girls, 1 out of every 200 girls, instead of 1 out of every 13 boys will be 1 out of every 1,000 boys. We can do that part. So that's where, again, it falls square on us as parents to be better, to do better. You don't realize how much the presence of a father plays such a huge role into the well-being of your kids. Again, from that video that I played at the beginning, if there's a father in the home, the likelihood of something happening is a lot less. That's not to say every home that does not have a father won't have anything happen or something will happen or something won't happen. So I'm just saying the likelihood of that happening is a lot higher when there is no father in the home. Of course, there's been home without father, many, many homes without fathers. And that kind of stuff never happened. You got a strong mother, you got a strong uncle, you got a strong grandfather, or you are in this community where things are very strict and people are like on guards and things like that don't happen. But the likelihood of it happening without a dad in the home is just a lot higher. It's just what it is. You see here, research on child maltreatment consistently shows that stable, attentive adult involvement reduces the risk. So based upon research, again, what I just said, it will reduce the risk if you're a father. You don't just think about, so how can I be there for my kids? How can I be there for my son, for my daughter? Well, then I'm providing. That's it. That's just literally like the tip of the iceberg. You are supposed to provide, but there's so much more you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be there for your kids. And what does that look like? Being there for your kids, it is not just providing. Being there for your kids is being there mentally, emotionally, obviously physically, being in the home when they want to go outside, play ball. I get it. You have to work. You're busy. But guess what? That's what we signed up for. For example, I know a lot of guys, a lot of fathers, they work very hard. They're hard workers. They will provide financially anything that the family needs. They're always there to provide. And that's commendable. But every time they try to take that cop out, they kind of try to take that easy way out by saying like, my family financially was stable. They don't, anything they need, they have it because I work hard. I make a lot of money and all that stuff. And I always tell them, that's commendable. But you being there, playing ball with your son, playing ball with your daughter, going to the park with them, wrestling your son, just reading a book to your daughter, just go on little daddy and daughter dates, taking your son to the ball game. Don't ever underestimate how powerful that is. That is so powerful because not only your presence is a deterrent to whatever creep that's just kind of lingering around, thinking that they can come in and just do something evil to your son, to to your daughter, but you are making the type of memory that's just priceless. You will never be able to do that if you let that moment go. And being involved in your kids' lives, it is so powerful. It's so powerful that it should never be not only underestimated, but it should not be debatable or a choice. You provide financially, you provide emotionally, physically, like in all aspects. Why? Because that's the job that we signed up for. I don't know what else to say. There's no way around it. I can have a bucket full of excuses right there and tell you that, hey, I have this going on, I have this meeting, I have this one, this one, this one. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Now think about those girls. Let's just talk about those girls in particular that were supposedly, allegedly trafficked to Epstein Island, to other billionaires, to other, I don't know, world leaders, politicians, like Hollywood famous people, you name it. Think about those girls in particular. Comment below. What do you think the likelihood or the percentage that of those girls would be if they were raised in a strong, family-focused home? Comment below and let me know. My guess is if we were to use those same stats, right? 1 out of every 4 girls before the age of 18 will be sexually abused. 1 out of every 13 boys before the age of 18 will be sexually abused. Me personally, I would put it, because sadly it's impossible to say that it will never happen, because some will definitely fall in between the cracks. I would say 1 out of like every hundreds, every 200s. That's just me, if not more. My goal is for that to be way higher. Why? Because as parents, we are making our presence known. We are being around, not just because we feel like we have to, but this is such a precious cargo that we have going on here. If we talk about the kids being the future, the kids being the next generation being better off than we were, we got to put in the work. We got to put in the work, because there are way too many obstacles out there, way too many Epsteins, way too many of that creep that I played at the beginning. There are millions of them. And that's such an, that's a crazy thought to me. It's hard for me to even comprehend that. So knowing those kind of things could happen to your loved ones, shouldn't that give you more pause for thoughts? Shouldn't that give you more of a reason to just be more vigilant? More of a reason to just be on guard? Because once the innocence of your kids, once their innocence been taken, you can't undo this. You can't undo it. And they get to live with it for the rest of their lives. And again, I had a speech in Pennsylvania not that long ago at a school, and I was talking about that. Once you've been abused, once you've become a victim of CSA, it will affect so many other areas in your life, such as, how would you like to make a difference today? Well, with the price of a cup of coffee, you can help me send kids to school in Haiti, my hometown, Cap Haitian. Gandhi once said, if you want to find yourself, lose yourself in the service of others. Now head on over to smithpaul.com and see how you can help me make those dreams a reality. Thank you. Your academics, your marital life, when you get married, it doesn't just stop there. And by the way, I'm speaking from experience. Your friendships will be affected. It's going to be hard for you to have friends, to make very good friends, to bond with people, because why? You think everybody's not who they say they are. Once you've been abused by a loved one, once somebody you trusted was the perpetrator into you having your innocence stolen, it's hard to trust people again. It's hard to trust people again. It's almost impossible. But I'm here to tell you, though, that needs to happen. You need to figure out a way to get the healing that you need in order to not let your schooling, your marriage, your parenting, any of those things being affected. The healing has to start. And don't wait on that. Don't wait on that. The healing has to start. So for me, as I'm seeing all this stuff happening with Epstein, and thinking about all the people who have been abused. It's a moment that I don't know what's going to happen if everybody's going to be called out or be um, those people. We're going to put names to all of those perpetrators and they're going to face justice. Certainly, that's what I would like. But I hate just seeing people getting caught up into this crazy world where people are so focused on just not only the negative news, but once they get it, you would hope that it stirs something within them to make it better so that negative news, that news about Epstein molesting kids and all the other ones who are doing that right now, you would hope that it creates this fire to take action, to take actions to stop this. But I'm seeing so many people just try to capitalize on the fact that, not only they're creating content within the social media world, but even within my own community, when I talk to people about that, it's this feeling of just, it is what it is. It's so deflating. I hate seeing that. We're so much better than that, and we can do so much better than that. Looking at those numbers, it's just upsetting. And of course, I knew about them. I've done so much research along with my own experience whenever I was writing my book, and Scars Beneath the Skin. So I know about those numbers, and I know it gets way worse than that. By no means am I sitting here telling you that I had it way worse, and you should feel bad for me. I'm not crying about it. I'm not complaining about it. Matter of fact, right now I'm sitting in front of you because I'm no longer a victim. I was a victim. Now I'm more of a victor, right? I want to raise awareness. I want to stand on the fact that I got the healing that I needed and I know what I went through and I feel for you. I'm very empathetic. I'm very, I get what you're going through, which is why I'm pushing you and please, I don't know how else to say it. Don't sleep on that. Really don't. I said here just talking about sexual abuse and trying to raise awareness for it. And I'm doing my best to not just sit on my hands. I know not everybody's going to feel compelled to sit in front of a camera with a microphone in your face and talking about what you went through and how you want to raise awareness for it. It's not a very easy topic to talk about. It's a matter of fact, I talked about when I was in church as a Christian. I feel like that's one topic that the church is lacking quite a bit because it feels so uncomfortable. We don't like to talk about it. It feels weird. It feels icky. Like it just, I don't want to talk about it. I think that's when the devil wins. I think that's when people like Epstein, that's when they win. That's the victory that we've given them by staying silent. Silence is the killer of all of it. Whether you've been through trauma and you don't want to talk about it, that silence, that's killing you. It's eating you. It's like a cancer. It's metastasizing. And so whether it's within your family, your dad, your mom, they don't want to talk about it because it's just uncomfortable. That's a victory that we're giving to those pedophiles, to those people just out there lingering in the dark. We have to look at it for what it is. Don't just talk about Epstein and he's dead now. The other people, we're trying to see who's in the files, a bunch of redacted names, and now we're trying to get the DOJ to release those names and try to figure out who they're. After you get those names, after you know who they are, I mean, obviously, most of us, as I'm talking to you right now, I don't have any power in just like who goes to jail, who doesn't go to jail. What am I gonna do? Just rioting and just tell people, let's take the street so that this guy goes to jail? I mean, that could be an option. I wouldn't be against it if it goes down the line where these people get to pay for what they did. Fine, but the likelihood of that happening is pretty slim. And so, what I do know again is the same thing that I alluded to earlier. My power lies in this household, this community, this society. Me telling you those creeps are out there. You as the parent, you as the mom, you as the dad, don't sleep on your job. Don't sleep on your job. Your job is so important. I can't stress it enough. Your job is so important. So your presence cannot just be something that you kind of, if I'm here, I'm here, but it's time now to go hang out with the boys. It's time now to go play golf. It's time now to go do this while your son is just lusting for your presence, for your attention, while your daughter's just dying for you to just look at her and tell her how important she is, how beautiful she is, how great she is at school, at sport, how how much of a good girl she is, so that she doesn't have to go out there and seek those attention from somebody else with just evil intentions. It starts with you. It starts with us as the parents. That's our job. That's our job. And those numbers are to me, I think they're in direct correlation to why this problem is so bad. When you don't pay attention to how important your job is, you tend to be kind of lackadaisical. You kind of just you don't give it the importance that it needs. You don't give it the magnitude that it needs. So therefore, you think that you can just go on life and not do anything. But it's a problem. Another thing that really stuck to me, which is the last thing that I want to talk about, you know, um, whenever you hear about well, obviously there are millions of survivors. So like when you think about like although 1 out of every 4 girls before the age of 18 will be sexually abused, 1 out of every 13 boys before the age of 18 will be sexually abused. So that means like millions of them out there are living with this trauma. Why? Because, people like, parents didn't do good enough jobs. And again, don't get me wrong. Just because you do a good enough job does not mean this won't happen. But the likelihood, statistically speaking, will be way less. That we know. I think we can agree on that. And so millions of survivors are out there right now. And you know what they're doing? They're trying to have a family. They're trying to raise kids. They're trying to have good relationships. They're trying not to abuse drugs. They're trying not to just be in the closet and just crying themselves to sleep. And that's not a hyperbole. I'm not just saying that. I know people who actually do that. I know people, like, I've heard of people have reached out to me telling me how they have to go to sleep. They have to chain themselves with certain chains, certain ways, and like all sorts of messed up things simply because when they were kids, their innocence was taken. And they don't know how to compartmentalize that. They don't know what to do with that. So therefore, they're broken. They need the healing that they need. And the healing, again, at this point, if you've been abused, you got to read some books. I'm suggesting my book. There are plenty of other books out there. Read some books. Reach out to the right help. If you're a spiritual person, pray about it. You need the healing in order to live to your full potentials. So the question is, comment below. Those parents right now, those survivors who went through all that stuff, every single 1 out of 4 girls, every single 1 out of 13 boys, now living with those traumas, do you think they're going to pass it down to their kids? Here's a question for you. I truly believe if you don't get the healing that you need, it's going to be a vicious cycle, right? So I think it will proceed to the next kid and the next kid. It will proceed to the next generation because that's just the way it works. If you never fix it, how do you expect it to be magically just poof, fixed? If you went through trauma and there are a lot of things that happened to you, not to your own fault, but nevertheless, they did happen. And they kind of put you at some kind of imbalance, or the alignment is all messed up. If you don't seek to get that alignment and fix things, how do you think it's gonna work? And so my thing is, my demand is very simple. As parents, we need to do a better job. We're not gonna fix the problem just because we're gonna be there emotionally, physically, morally, you name it. But if we can help one person not have to go through what those girls who got trafficked to Epstein or all these other girls right now, as we speak, sadly, were being abused, were being trafficked. If we can do our job well enough, at the very least, I believe statistically it will go way down. I do believe that. And it's not just my belief. Statistically, that's what it says. The risks of kids being abused by having a father in the home. Most importantly, both of them, mom and dad, that's the perfect combination. But a father, again, plays that authority role where those creeps won't want to come around if they know somebody's going to give them the business. If we played our role, I think we can have a better future. If we play our role, hopefully we'll never hear of another Epstein. So my ask is simple. Let's be present. Let's be present in the home. Let's be present physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, economically. All the aspects. When we signed up to be parents, that's just what the job comes with. When you go out there and get a job, there is a list of things that needs to be done for that job, right? And if you don't do all of it, your boss can fire you because you're not performing the way you're supposed to. You did sign the contract, you did agree to do the job, and those are what's on the list. And if you don't do those things, you don't have a really good work ethic. You're not performing well, and you can lose your job. It's no different. When we become parents, we have to do our job. It doesn't just stop by, I'm just going to provide financially, and then I'm going to let the rest to my wife to take care of the kids at home. I'm going to let the rest to my mom to help out my wife. Nah, man, that's not what it is. And it goes both ways. But I'm speaking specifically to men right now. Our job is to be there emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, all of it. It's on the list. Check it out. Don't cut corners. That's not one we can afford to cut. The next generation depends on it. So let's do better. Instead of looking at Epstein as like, oh, this guy who just is blah, 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 like we just read the news, just ingesting all this crazy, just evil things that we're reading. Let's not just read it. Let's understand what it is. Let's understand those numbers are real people. Those are kids who most likely you know a lot of them. Statistically speaking, you know a lot of them. You just don't know they're there. You just don't realize it, but you know a lot of them. Let's equip ourselves to not only help them, but to mitigate the risk of this happening so frequently. Thanks for watching. Please comment below if you have any questions. I'd love for you to participate in the conversation. As always, if you enjoy this type of conversation, please give it a like, subscribe, and help me to grow this channel and raise awareness for CSA and this stuff. Peace and love.
Hey, yeah, you. Thank you for supporting the channel. Like, subscribe, and share it. Help me spread the word.